Hello and welcome to Know How Tap. We're starting a new series on AWS networking. Each video covers one concept that stands on its own and helps to build a clear mental model. In this video, we're going to talk about public versus private in AWS networking, specifically how AWS services are accessed and what network paths are involved. One quick clarification. The terms public zone, private zone, and dual zone are not official AWS terms, so you won't find them in the documentation. They're teaching constructs and they exist to help you reason about access paths, not to classify AWS services rigidly. No matter where you're working from, the office, home, or traveling, you always start in the same place, the public internet. Every interaction with AWS begins outside of AWS unless you intentionally build private connectivity. The first group of services sits in what I'm calling the public zone. These services expose public endpoints, meaning AWS publishes endpoint addresses that are reachable directly over the internet. Examples include CloudFront, IAM, and Web Application Firewall. If you have an internet connection and the right permissions, you can reach these services effortlessly. A public endpoint, however, does not mean public access. It describes the network path, not who is allowed. Authentication and authorization still apply. On the right side is the private zone. These are resources that live inside a VPC and are not reachable from the public internet by default. Examples include EC2, EFS, RDS. To access these resources, you must deliberately create a network path. Nothing here is reachable by accident. One common way to access private resources is through a VPN connection. A VPN extends your network into AWS, allowing you to reach private resources without exposing them to the public internet. The Internet Gateway creates a route to and from the public internet. It allows inbound access only if you explicitly configure routing and addressing. An Internet Gateway does not make resources public by itself. Exposure is always intentional. Inside a VPC, you typically have public and private subnets. A public subnet has a route to an internet gateway, and resources in that subnet may have public IP addresses. A private subnet does not expose resources directly to the internet. We can have multiple EC2 instances, different subnets, and completely different level of exposure. When we talk about public and private zones, these again are loose conceptual buckets, not hard boundaries. We're not trying to force every AWS service neatly into a single category. Some services can be accessed both publicly and privately, depending on how they're configured. That's where the idea of dual zone comes in. These are services that can be accessed in two different ways depending on configuration. In this example, API Gateway and S3. From the internet, traffic reaches API Gateway or S3 via public endpoints as usual. From inside the VPC, resources like EC2 can reach those same services using an interface VPC endpoint for API Gateway and a gateway VPC endpoint for S3. In both cases, traffic stays on the AWS managed infrastructure, often referred to as the AWS global backbone, rather than traversing the public internet. A quick note about Direct Connect, which we're intentionally not covering in this video as this is a beginner-level networking session. Conceptually, Direct Connect plays a similar role here as a VPN, just with different capabilities, performance, and reliability characteristics. Some key takeaways: public or private is not a property of the service, it's a property of how the service is accessed. If you can answer what network path is required to reach this, you're well on your way to learning the fundamentals of AWS networking. This video is part of a larger AWS networking series, so be sure to check out the AWS networking playlist on the channel. If this helped you build a better mental model, it would really help the channel if you liked the video, subscribed, and shared it with anyone else who might find it useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.